think it's a great event where we have a dedicated exercise on the part of the border deputies to showcase those Muslims who risk their own lives to save Jewish lives.
It's absolutely right that we honour and respect the courage of people from wherever they come, and you're right that the fact that there were Muslims who saved Jews is not well enough appreciated, and this exhibition and this event, I hope, will redress that balance.
And it's a great opportunity to build bridges between the communities, isn't it?
It is. It's one other opportunity where we can build those bridges. I mean, we have been building bridges for a long time now, but I think every opportunity we have, every occasion we have, we've got to keep making those bridges stronger and stronger so that the detractors cannot drive a wedge between them.
As I said to Sheikh Ibrahim just now, we're both fighting exactly the same battle with regard to Shechita and Brit Milah. We're both fighting against the demands of a very secular society, a society which doesn't necessarily respect our religious customs or our faith schools.
And I think that's why this evening is so important, in order to help people be aware of the so many Muslims who helped us under very difficult conditions. I was during the summer in Albania, and Albania was the only country, a Muslim majority country, where there were actually more Jews alive after the war than before the war, because the people were committed to save the Jews despite the German occupation.
And do you think this is also an opportunity to build bridges?
Yes, of course. But for that reason, I'm here. I went to Palestine and I went to Israel and I talked to the official. They love to see each other. They love to work together. They love to make a bridge.
And I think that both our communities have a great track record in helping each other. I think there's a lot of focus on the negative, on the conflict, but I think we also have to remember the positive experiences that both our communities have had with each other.
We have to put all the differences away and look for the similarities. We have 95% similarities. Why are we fighting for? Why we are fighting? I can't understand why we are fighting for. There is enough land, enough friendship, enough kindness, enough goodness.
Do you think both communities, the Muslim community and the Jewish community, need to be educated about these righteous Muslims?
I think all of us need to be educated, and yes, learning the positive aspects of our communities and how we live together. So much is about how we can't live together, and so much how we're at odds with each other. I think if you look at history at a very narrow lens, you may come to that conclusion. But if you look at history from a wider perspective, from over the centuries perspective, and you see how societies have grown together, it is when we've learned to live and contribute together. And I think very much this is a very important aspect of an important step in that development of living communities. We're both immigrant communities here. You've been here much longer than we have. We're recent. So there are a lot of aspects that we can learn from one another and so forth, and grow with one another.
The interesting thing about faith groups, of course, is that we all fundamentally share the same values. Last year we had the Year of Service, which was all about social action, all 9 faiths together. That whole move is continuing. And there's very few times in Britain where all 9 faiths come together and do things. The more of that we can do, the more we realise that we are all British citizens, we're all committed to the country, we're all committed to our communities, but we're also committed to each other's communities. And we want to live in a local society where people know each other, share experiences, are friends. At the Board of Deputies, we take education of children very seriously. So both within our Jewish community, but also to the wider community, it's very important that children grow up knowing about each other's faiths and learning to be tolerant of one another. I think a lot of people never meet people from other faiths. They're scared of other faiths.
I was going to say, there's a great school in Stamford Hill, Simon Marks Jewish Primary School, and they're fantastic, aren't they?
Yeah. think Simon Marks is a wonderful example. There's actually many Jewish schools which are full of non-Jewish children, or children of all different backgrounds. And for children to be able to share their faith with each other, to share their cultural experiences, is something that stands them in very good stead for the future.
And I get very upset when some of our community tend to be a little bit Islamophobic, and this is a brilliant illustration of good, wonderful Muslim people that have helped the Jewish community, and the more we say about that, the better, in my view.
It's great to see members of the Muslim and Jewish community talking about their shared histories. So I think this kind of face-to-face interaction, much needed educational work, much needed in the environment in which we're in.
Because both communities need to know about the stories of the righteous Muslims during the Shoah.
Absolutely. I mean, there are these stories which are, most of them oral, that need to be put down on paper. The more of these, a lot of these stories are out there. These shared histories need to be put into our schools, colleges, and educational centres. So it's absolutely fundamental that we get them on paper and that more people research them.
Because we can learn from them, can't we?
We can learn a great deal, not only about our histories, not only about those who did the right thing, but also the moral inspiration of actually standing up for the oppressed and the victimised.
And it will also help to develop the relationship between the Jewish and Muslim communities.
Most definitely. I think elements like this glue and bridge the two communities, because it is more about just our religions. It's about us as human beings actually trying to get along, live together, protect each other in those instances.
Events like this bring hope and inspiration to both communities.
Most definitely. Long they may continue, and I hope and pray that at least this work inspires others to go out there and research others to help in this arena.
And what would be your message to the Jewish and Muslim communities after this event?
To learn more about one another, not just to encounter one another socially, which we do more and more because of our open society, but really to enter into dialogue and find out more about one another's traditions, how similar we are in so many ways. Culturally, Jews and Muslims have so much in common, and I think a lot of ways to strengthen one another. It might sound a bit utopian, but I think it's a real possibility, and I think it's happening in little ways here and there in Britain.
It's an excellent occasion. It's really nice to see Muslims and Jews coming together to celebrate something like this. And I think it really sort of makes me as a Muslim, makes me feel really, 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 really good and supported by the Jewish community. And it's excellent. And a great turnout as well.
Do you think one of the problems with the Jewish and Muslim communities are that they're not aware of the righteous Muslims, what they did to save Jewish lives during the Holocaust?
I think definitely. I think that is a factor which contributes to it. But I think more than that, I think Muslims and Jews are not aware of all the good things which happen on a daily basis across the country, of Muslims and Jews getting along really, really well together, living together, helping each other in every way possible. I see it all the time, but I think it's just that things like that are not in the media, they don't sell papers, so they're not out there. But it's about highlighting things like this, and the Righteous Muslim exhibition is a perfect example of showing the communities out there that this is what Muslims contributed and the way Muslims helped the Jewish community.
Do you think we can take this hope and inspiration from this evening to the Middle East?
I think so, definitely. I think it will be a big inspiration to people in the Middle East, and I think it will really, really improve the relationship between the Jewish community and the Muslim community in those areas.
Look, if we take the inspiration that these righteous Muslims give us about really when they looked at the Jewish community, they didn't see the other, they actually saw their brother, and they put their own lives at risk to make sure that they protected. And what they saw first was the relationship of humanity rather than difference.
There are stories that are out there, they're true stories. They've actually been honoured at Yad Vashem, so they're up there, but nobody's actually set right to actually go and put them down together in a booklet, in an educational booklet form, and tell the stories. And they need to be told. called both to the Jewish community and also to the Muslim community, because they are the heroes in this.
I was saying to somebody earlier that I truly believe that we should do this more often and do it very publicly. The messages that it conveys are heartwarming, touching, they make you reflect, and I just think that as human beings we can learn so much from fellow human beings who have been through so much.